All right, you're very welcome back. We're looking forward to the All-Ireland Camogie finals, which take place this weekend. It's an unusual start time for the senior final. Cork against Waterford, getting underway at 5 p.m. 2:45 start. One team will be going up this season from intermediate to senior because it's Meath against Derry, and the All-Ireland Camogie Premier Junior final is going to be a Munster derby between the second teams from Clare and Tipperary. That game gets underway at 10-1. We're going to be focusing on the senior final. It is a novel pairing since 2012. It's been dominated the final by three teams in Galway, Kilkenny and Cork. Waterford in the Camogie final for the first time in 78 years following their 1-point win against their neighbours Tipperary in the semi-finals. 28 times champions Cork will be looking to put the last 2 years of disappointment behind them. They've beaten the last two champions on their route to getting to the final in Galway and Kilkenny, and they are hoping to lift the O'Duffy Cup for the first time since 2018. Delighted to say I have in studio with me the former Dublin manager Adrian O'Sullivan. How you going, Adrian?
Yeah, flying it well.
And delighted to say Anya Keane from Galway, who Adrian's been working with this year with the Galway backroom team, is with us as well. How are you, Anya?
Hi guys, how are you? It's good to be here.
Adrian, how good has Anya been this season? We were talking before we came on that she's kind of changed roles up, picked on the All-Stars third level team of the year in the forwards, but yet can also play well in defence.
Yeah, look, it's a very, very difficult thing to do at inter-county level to switch positions. So look, Anya had a very difficult task this year, going back, wing back, and adapting quickly after a career with Thomas's and UL in Galway underage, and playing in the forward. So yeah, she did very, very well. Now I know she'd be embarrassed now listening to that, but I think it was plain to see anyway. Plain to see in her performances. I don't think anyone needs me to tell them that she did very well this year, in fairness. Yeah,
Anya, no need to be embarrassed whatsoever. Is it harder to play corner forward or in the half back line?
I think it's hard to play corner forward, but no, I actually enjoyed the new experience of playing wing back this year, and I suppose it kind of changed up for me and a new perspective on my role in the forward, and maybe the difference, the easier maybe the forwards have it of not having to chase people around the pitch. But no, I enjoyed it, and it was a good refresher, we'll call it, as to where I can actually maybe play backs or forwards and be a versatile player. So no, I enjoyed it so far, yeah. Maybe it might continue on from next year, you never know.
Well, there you go, putting the hand up to stay in the half-back line for next season. It is one of those as well, Anya, when you play in that position, you're going to get in a lot of ball. If you're playing corner forward, you're reliant on the supply which is coming into you. You can almost kind of drive forward and have plenty of field in front of you at wing-back. Yeah,
it's a completely different role to play in. Like, I suppose when I was playing half forward with Galway throughout the league, I suppose I was kind of dropping back more into half back line, so I was kind of used to that role. But no, definitely changing to half back, you have the whole field in front of you, and it definitely opens up a lot more for you, and you have a different task in your hands. But no, I enjoyed it, and as I said, hopefully might continue on next year. But it was a while since I played there, so yeah, definitely different a different role. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it, right? Yeah.
Adrian, the circumstances have been slightly different. Could have been talking to the two of you, but getting ready for an All-Ireland final this weekend, given Galway's consistency over the last few years as well, you found yourselves on a difficult side of the draw. To know that in a semi-final you were going to have Cork or Kilkenny turns out to be Cork, and Cork have battled in a very, very hard side of the draw to get to Croke Park on Sunday, haven't they?
Yeah, no, look, they've definitely come the hard route. I was reading a few articles there this week. Jeremy McCarthy and these lads down in Cork, I think a lot of people in Cork would have written off Cork Camogie this year. I suppose they were beaten in the league final, beaten quite comprehensively in Munster, even though I suppose the Munster competition doesn't really feed into the All-Ireland, and then came down to Athenry and were beaten by us in the first round of the championship as well, and then drew Kilkenny in the quarter final. So like they've really come the hard road this year, and I suppose we'll talk about maybe what potential outcomes there later, but I do think it'll stand to them because they've had to show huge resilience in the route that they've taken, and like, if I suppose people in Camogie talk about the big three, and it's kind of usually Galway, Cork and Kilkenny, so they've had to beat Galway and Kilkenny to get to the final. So anytime you do that, you can definitely say they've come the hard route for sure. Yeah.
It means they're tried and tested, doesn't it? Like, we even look at Galway this year. Is a horrible run they were on against Galway Cork. They hadn't won their last 8 matches, even 3 times in the last calendar year they had played and not beaten Galway.
Yeah, no, you don't need to remind us of that. I think it's fair to say myself and Anya swapped those 3 wins to be heading into Croke Park now on Sunday. They caught us at the right time. Actually, no, not caught us is the wrong word. They beat us at the right time. They were deserving winners on the day. There's no question of that. But yeah, I think I could be wrong though, but going back to 2017, possibly they hadn't beaten Galway in any competition. So I suppose for us it came at the wrong time for them to get the monkey off the back. But I do feel that having got that monkey off the back and having beaten Kilkenny in the quarter final and come that long road, as you say, I think they're in great shape going into Sunday. They must be brimming with confidence. And look, Anya, I'll tell you better now, having experienced it on the field, but I felt they were very hungry that day in the semi-final in Kilkenny. They really looked like a group who were on a mission, and I suppose a lot of that comes from taking those knocks during the year and kind of bouncing back, and that energy that gives a group.
Anya, did you get that feeling from the semi-final as well? I know hunger won't win a game in and of itself, but what did you think was the reason that Cork got past you this time?
No, definitely. I think having beaten them, I think as you're right, Adrian says 2017, I think it was 8 matches we played against them, 7 we won, 1 draw. So look, for us it was always going to come probably at some stage, but definitely last Saturday week, you could feel it. You could feel that they just wanted it more than us probably. They were hungry. Every 50-50 ball, they seem to win it now. I don't know the stats on that, but just from playing, you kind of, you always felt like we were on the back foot with them. In all fairness, their work rate and everything put them in that position. So it's unfortunate. You obviously don't want to be on that team that loses them eventually, but look, we'll take that. We'll go again next year, hopefully, when it comes to it. But for them, they were deserving winners, 100% against us. It was, look at us, we bet them 3 times this year, but at the end of the day, so as Adrian said, they bet us when it meant the most. So yeah, look at they were definitely hungry, and they'll bring that into the next stage. They'll fear nothing. As Adrian mentioned there, they bet Kilkenny in the quarter final. They would have had the harder run, I would say, yes, beating the big teams, even against Clare. They were down to Cusack Park and gave Clare a good beating, and we bet them by 3 points. So look they had a great run. They continued into the semi-final. They brought their A game against us. It was hard on the pitch. As I said, they won most 50-50 balls, I think anyways. And yeah, they'll have great confidence going into Sunday, and why wouldn't they as such,
Yeah, it is sometimes about timing a run when it comes to this. And in Waterford's case, this is quite an impressive run they've been on. If you take it, they were in the intermediate final back in 2015, and now here they are in 2023 in a senior final. Haven't been in one since the end of the Second World War, so that probably puts it in context of what they achieved with that win against Tipperary in the semis. But is it fair to say this has been like a very recent success at Waterford, or you've managed against them now in various different guises in recent years? Has this actually been coming for a while for the Daesh? Yeah,
it's like anything they say, any overnight success takes 20 years, isn't it? But no, I don't think it's fair to say Waterford is an overnight success. I suppose, look, Anya will know from being in UL as well, I was the Ashbourne manager in UL kind of like 2018, 2019, and there was a lot of talk when we were looking to do our recruitment of this kind of crop of players that was coming in Waterford, and the school down there, St Angela's, had won the B All-Ireland and then went on and won the A All-Ireland the following year, and that had been kind of a monopoly of the likes of President Athenroy and Loreto and Kilkenny and stuff like that. So they broke that monopoly, and then they went on and won a Munster Minor A as well. And you're kind of looking at players that have come through there, like Kate Lynch, Annie Fitzgerald, Abby Flynn. These kind of players all came through that group. And obviously in UL then at the time we had Beth Carton, who was already a superstar at that stage. So she got me out of plenty of holes in backwaters up and down the country in the winter in college games.
Is that the trick about being a good manager?
Absolutely,
having good players?
100%. No question whatsoever. I would argue to the death with anyone who says otherwise. Yeah, it's all about having the players, no question whatsoever. But like then next thing, like Annie and Kate and these players are coming in, and we got a first year intake. There was Annie Fitzgerald, Kate Lynch and Siobhan McGrath from Galway, and they were the standout players, and we won in Ashbourne with 4 Waterford players on the team. So like you could kind of see that there was something happening in Waterford. Roisin Hartley had a couple of minor teams there that did really well, got the kind of All-Ireland quarterfinals, semi-finals. They got to another minor final this year, and then even if you look at their senior managers kind of along the way, they've had Donald O'Rourke as their manager for a few years. He's now the Cork senior hurling coach. That Derek Lyons shows won like various competitions, Waterford under 21 minor.
He's Fergal O'Brien, isn't he?
Yes, yeah, Fergal O'Brien, you know, Dan Shanahan, these guys all coached him. So I think they've been maturing and coming along for a while now. And then obviously Sean Power has a great record in Waterford as well, and has a good management team around him. So no, I think to the uninitiated, I suppose it might look like they've kind of come out of nowhere, but this has been building for a while, I think, down in Waterford, and they do seem to have a good crop of young players coming through after this as well, so they could be around for a while. For them to get to the final, obviously it's going to be a huge experience for them, but when you get to a final, you may as well try and convert it. It doesn't have to be about the experience of getting to it. Waterford should be all out gunning for this, even though Cork are favourites. 100%. I mean, look, you can't, when you get to a final for the first time, you can't think we'll go and experience it and sure we'll be back again. Like, it's a cutthroat championship, you know, the camogie championship as well, the way it is with 3 groups of 4. You know, you could be inside in a group next year with Cork or Galway or Kilkenny and come out into a quarter final against one of them as well, and a lot of it depends on the draw, you know. So like, I think they will be talking about taking their chance on Sunday and not about, look, let's go for the experience, you know. And look, you've very experienced players in that dressing room, like Lorraine Bray, Beth Carton, all these, you know, like Abby Flynn, Joe's like an international basketball player and camogie superstar and all that. Like, they've got players who are used to performing at an elite level and winning at an elite level, and I don't think they'll have any thoughts in their heads only going to take that cup on Sunday, to be honest, like, so.
Anya, did you get the feeling this, I mean, you would have hurled along some of these players at college level, did you feel this was a Waterford team that was coming over the last few years as well?
Yeah, I totally agree with Adrian. Look, I can agree. I have, obviously we haven't played this year, right? But like, I can speak from playing with the girls in UL in Kate and Annie, Mairead and Rachel. They're top class players in every way. Their work rate, they're fantastic athletes, fantastic skill sets. So like, while they are young, I think Adrian agreed with this. They are probably one of some of the most experienced players in that Waterford team. Like, look, Kate Lynch, the last day against Tipperary, I thought she stood up and she was immaculate. Like Annie, dual player, and she's doing fantastic. Do you know, like, so the next day, yes, they're going to be against it, but I think Mairead O'Brien was unreal last day as well. So, like, if them girls stand up, which I know they can and I know they will, and yes, it's a massive day for them. Like, it's an All-Ireland final day, but it's All-Ireland's there to win, and I think they'll know that, and they won't. Like, I hope they'll go out and they'll just enjoy it, because that's the main thing. You're going to draw a final. Like, you haven't been there in 75 years. None of the players on that Waterford team have ever experienced that, you know, senior All-Ireland final day. So it's massive for them. But as you said, like, the likes of Beth Carton, Lorraine Bray, Niamh Rockett, they're all highly experienced players. They'll know their way around Roe Park, and look, they'll lead their team, and that's all you can ask. And as I said, the 4 girls, yes, they may be young, but they'll fit in just fine, and it'll be a great match. But Waterford, they have a good mixture between young players and experienced players, and I said there's Waterford, you know, got some minor final this year as well, so there is players coming as well, and that's great to see.
Good sprinkling there, Adrian, of star players across the team for Waterford coming into the weekend. But if you're Cork, do you look at Beth Carton and you say, I'm going to deploy someone on her and shut her down in the hope that you can maybe shut down the way the Waterford play?
Yeah, I think you have to, you know. It's like, you know, it's like Clare with Tony Kelly. It's that argument, you know, let Limerick take the risk every time they play them of not shutting him down and kind of hope to outgun him at the other end. You know, we'll score one more than you, kind of a thing. But I think a lot of teams when they play Clare will designate a man marker on Tony Kelly, and I think Cork and Aoife Healy have the player to do it. You know, she's a fantastic young player. It's probably operating under the radar a little bit this year in that she's maybe not a flash player compared to others that make impact in games, but she's a phenomenal athlete, plays in the football team as well, and like, I've seen her this year be comfortable in the full back line, in midfield, in the half back line. And I think, like, Beth is very, very smart, and if she feels that she's getting marked out of a game, she'll try and bring her opponent down into an area of the pitch where she's not comfortable and try and edge the game in her own favour that way. And I think for that reason alone, I think Aoife Healy is the perfect player to pick her up, because she will be comfortable in other parts of the field. And then I'd imagine Cork will just adjust slightly then with their other 5 backs and kind of move around. They have a lot of players that are kind of comfortable in different positions there in that back line. So I think they'll have no choice but to go after Beth, because like she's a big player, big game player. I think that 2015 All Ireland you mentioned, I think she was only 16 and she was one of the players of the games, you know, so she'd have no fear of Croke Park either. And look, as I said, you're talking about picking players, like she always delivered for me on the big day as well. She was always the one you just knew that she was going to deliver, like, so I think they'll have no choice but to try and shut her down, really, to be honest, you know.
Waterford probably will want her with the ball in hand as close to the opposition goal as possible, but is she comfortable if it comes to a case that a player or two players start coming in on top for her, that she's happy enough to drift around?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, early in the season she didn't play that close to goal at all. She kind of played centre forward but dropping out into midfield, and they did have her playing that playmaker role where they were trying to get her on the ball as much as possible, and I suppose they had more forwards inside, you know, like Abby Flynn, Annie Fitzgerald and Eve Rocket all have serious pace, Mairead O'Brien, so they were happy for Beth to get on the ball and pull the strings and play that playmaker role, you know. But in the semi-final in against Tipperary, when they really needed to, they pushed her into the full forward line, and that was where they got the most return from her. So I suppose a lot of it will depend on how Waterford set up. If they set up with a sweeper, there probably isn't much point having Beth inside in the full forward line with Laura Tracy covering off in front of her, you know, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. If they push up and play 15 on 15, you could see Beth inside in the full forward line for a good chunk of the game, alright, yeah.
Laura Tracy's one of those kind of great readers of the game as well, very difficult to get the ball past her.
Yeah, she's class. Like she plays the game very much in the Declan Hannon style, and that's not to do any disservice to Laura, but comparing her to Declan, you could compare Declan to Laura as well. She's very happy even playing 15 on 15 to just sit off the centre forward and sit back and cover. But I think her biggest strength is on the transition, is like the Cork defenders know to look for her, that she's always going in support. She's a very accurate stick passer, and she just gets the ball to Saoirse McCarthy, Laura Hayes, all these players, and just gives them that platform to attack in. So like a lot of how Waterford are going to go about winning this game is going to depend on what position or what, I suppose, role they allow Laura Tracy to have in the game, for sure. Yeah.
Anya, you've faced it. I watched the last two games on the TV, the quarter-final and semi-final. When this Cork team gets running at you and they use their physicality and they use their pace, it's very, very hard to stop, isn't it?
Oh, it's immaculate. Like, the running game is immense, but I think if Waterford can stay disciplined in tracking them runners, they'll have a chance. Like as Adrian was on about there, in Laura Tracy, like her distribution is unbelievable, second to none. Like she can play it down the line, she can give a simple hand pass, stick pass to hand, or she can play an unbelievable diagonal ball, and that kind of takes the defence out of it, you know. And she can play that diagonal ball from her own 45, 65. You know, there's no limit to her ability, which is huge for Cork, and it's massive. And I think the next day she will be the building platform. It'll start with her and it'll work its way up. But yeah, when they're running at you, their physicality, their speed, it's hard to stop. But if Waterford can just kind of get that right, and as you're on with Beth there a while ago, like if they can, if it's Aoife Healy that picks her up or whoever it is, you know, if Waterford get their man marking right, and if Cork can get theirs right, it'll be quite a good game to watch. But definitely Cork's running game, like I see Kate Lynch probably pushing out a small bit, maybe even as half back line, maybe Keane O'Sullivan might start, I don't know, but they need pace in that half back line to be able to track them runners, and then inside hopefully not leave too much space, because it's hard. Like just speaking from experience from the last day, Cork, their half forwards, they push out so far, they look deep, go deep for that, looking for the ball, and then they transition, and it's like all that space is left in behind us with the full back line and the full forward line. And if Waterford can cut out that space and stop that supply going into the full forward line, they'll stand a chance. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But definitely if they can cut off the supply at the start, and I think that'll start with Laura Tracy, if they can cut off that supply, Waterford will do well.
That's why I know, Sajan, when they kind of wrestled control against Kilkenny, that Cork didn't mind coming back a little bit deep, being in a position to counter-attack, and then they used the ball very cleverly to move it up to the other end, and they were very effective, particularly when they went on a bit of a scoring run in that game as well. There's just this feeling that, right, when they're dialed in, they're a very, very hard team to stop.
Yeah, look, they've been playing that same style for a long time, you know. like they've had, I suppose, the benefit of the continuity of having Paddy Murray there for so long, and he kind of brought that running game to camogie, and they had massive success off the back of that. And then like Matthew Toomey took over, and he'd been involved with Paddy, so there's that bit of continuity there as well. And they got Liam Cronin in as a coach, and he's a very, very good coach, and his style of play with like kind of club and county teams is to go through the lines and transition the ball as well. So I suppose they've had the benefit of knowing their game plan so well from all that continuity there. But like they're so good at it, and even if you play UCC in Ashbourne, or you go down and watch the Cork Miners play, they all play the same way. Like, so it's kind of, they nearly have this, I suppose, academy system like in a professional football team, where the teams are all playing the same way and just the players just fit into the system so well that it's very, very hard to counteract. You know, if you push up 15 on 15 against them, as Anya said there, you're in danger of leaving serious space inside for Mackie and Amy O'Connor and these, and if you sit back and play a sweeper, well, Laura Tracy's going to get on a world of ball and give them a huge attacking platform. So like if Waterford are to stay in this game down the stretch on Sunday, they'll have to get that right, you know, or if they don't, they could be in serious trouble.
Only mentioned the importance of trying to cut off the supply and not allowing Cork to maybe work those attacks out and to hurt you like that. If you're Waterford, what is your approach to that? Is that just down to kind of discipline? I don't mean in terms of fouling, but probably discipline positionally across the pitch as well. Yeah,
look, Anya hit the nail on the head there a second ago. It's about players going with the runners, you know, trying not to allow the overlap and be very, very disciplined. And look, that's a hard thing to do, especially inside in Croke Park, and I'm sure Waterford will bring a huge crowd with them. They had a massive crowd them down in Nolan Park, and the whole county seems to be behind them, and you know, the noise, and when you're out in the pitch in Croke Park, even when you're doing warm-ups and stuff like that, the player 20 yards away can't hear what you're saying, you know. So like communication comes into it an awful lot, and organisation and discipline and tracking runners and all that, and it's very, very difficult to get right. And I suppose the one fear you'd have for Waterford is they haven't really played against that style yet this year. You know, they kind of came through the group winning each game by cricket scores, really, to be fair. And Tipperary play a much more direct style of play, where it's try and hit the full forward and Grace O'Brien caught the van. So that is the one worry you'd have for Waterford, is like, you know, are they ready for what they're going to face here with this running game, and have they had enough practice at counteracting it, you know. So but yeah, Cork are so slick at it, like it's actually very good to watch, you know. Like they have serious athleticism as well. I suppose they're lucky that the players they have coming through from underage, like Saoirse McCarthy, Laura Hayes, Fiona Keating, that they fit into the system so well because of their athleticism, you know. Like you could easily get athletic players into a system and the style doesn't suit them, but like they're just ready made for it. And yeah, look, I think their style of play is really, really good to watch, and Matthew has done a great job in not tearing up the script from what Paddy had, but managing to put his own stamp on it and develop them and allowing that continuity as well. So yeah, he's done a great job with them to keep that identity and style, but putting his own twist on it as well.
It's not Waterford's fault, only the way that the draw worked out and the teams that they've played to get to an All-Ireland final, but in some ways, is there a concern maybe that they wouldn't be as battle hardened as Cork have had to be on the other side?
I'd say yes and no to that. Like, as in, yes, they got an easy, some would say an easier run into an All-Ireland final, but at the end of the day, when you look back, yeah, okay, they're actually undefeated, I'm pretty sure, apart from the Munster their Munster game against Tipperary. I think they're undefeated, obviously undefeated in the league and undefeated in the championship. So like, that's massive for them. Do you know, that's huge. So they would take huge confidence from that. But yes, they put up huge scores and won games in their championship by, you know, good tallies. But that Ireland semi-final against Tipperary, I think, silenced any of that kind of maybe thoughts that maybe they wouldn't be ready for a battle. You know, Tipperary bet them, I think, well in that Munster championship game, if I'm correct. So to turn that around, after being beaten well by Tipperary, turn it around, and we'll say a month or two later, go out and beat Tipperary by a point in Ireland semi-final, I think that'll stand to them massively. So no, I think they're ready for it. I think their work rate and everything will bring a good battle to Cork, and I think they'll fear. I think they'll fear nothing. So yeah, I know. I think they mightn't have had as many hard games as Cork, but no, I think that Tipperary game will stand to them, and they're ready to go on Sunday.
It shows, Adrian, they can win slightly differently too. Like early in the year, this Waterford team were aligned a bit on their firepower. They were banging in goals, and then you win a proper arm wrestle against your neighbours in the semi-final to qualify. Totally different circumstance.
Yeah, no, look, I suppose I love researching kind of bits and pieces around the identity of teams, and coaches take over teams there, and can you tap into the local identity, and what the fabric of these teams are. They have a lot of friends down in Waterford over the years, and if you think about what is the fabric of Waterford, and if you go back to the teams they had in the 90s and into the kind of 2000s, like they always fought to the death, but they always played with a swagger and a confidence and a kind of a collar up, kind of a swashbuckling style. And I think the last day down in Nolan Park, it was unbelievable. Like, just the crowd they had, they were just chanting Waterford, 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 and you could see the confidence was coming in Waterford, and the backs were up, and like, I think definitely they have come a slightly different route, but I don't think they will lack for confidence because of that. I think they have this, Waterford people have this natural kind of a swagger, and like I think Limerick people have it as well. It comes from having a city in your county, I think, as well. There's that bit of a kind of a city attitude, and it's like, I think they'll be going in there fully expecting to win. Like, I don't think, I doubt they'll be listening to this anyway. I certainly wouldn't be if I was involved, but even if they are listening to this, I'd say they won't care one jot about us talking about them coming in with a handy draw or anything like that. I think they will be fully confident. If you have to look as well, Paul Flynn is in their backroom team, probably one of the most majestic hurlers of all time, and the swagger he played with, and like the bigger the stage, the more he liked it, and I'm sure that'll rub off on the players as well, and they won't have one bit of fear coming in, or they certainly won't be talking about the fact that Cork have beaten Galway and Kilkenny to get to this final. I think they'll bring that kind of a natural confidence that Waterford people have, and they'll bring that to Croke Park on Sunday, I think.
If you were managing Waterford at the moment, would you be tapping into the excitement of the last couple of weeks, or would you be trying to play it down? Because I was reading some of their interviews in the local papers earlier on today ahead of us having the chat, and they were all talking about the great crowd that's coming up, and their parents are buying the tickets, and they want to have most of the 30,000 in the ground at the weekend, and that's understandable. And you saw the emotional reaction of the players down their knees on the pitch after they qualified. If you're a manager, are you trying to play that down, or would you tap into it and go, this is great energy? I
think there's probably two answers to that. I think you're trying to play down the distractions. So I suppose at our Ireland final weekend, the distractions are, where are we staying on the Sunday night, what are we wearing on the Monday, like, these are the things that you don't think of, like press interviews popping up, are we doing interviews, are we not doing interviews, who's doing the interviews? I think if the management team travel arrangements, are we going up to Saturday night, what are we doing, are we staying the Sunday? These are all things that can drain people, and they can often drain a leadership group as well, because they'll be involved in the decision making. I think if their management have handled that well, and they kind of have all that boxed off early last week or into the middle of last week, and have those distractions parked away, I think that's important. But then you have to tap into the excitement. I mean, like Joe, as I read a quote there a few months ago, it just resonated with me. Is like, there's so many things in life that will try and knock you down. Joe, why would you try and bring people back down to earth? Like, Joe, let them enjoy it. Like, tap into the excitement of it, the energy of it. Like, the crowd that was in Nolan Park the last day definitely helped Waterford in the closing stages of that game. So I think they should embrace that and embrace the excitement. And again, it's part of their identity to go and play with a swagger. And Joe, that's like, like Eddie Fitzgerald, they have all their relations with a player with Ballygunner and Waterford and all this over the years, and they've been part of all these big occasions and colourful occasions. And I was saying, look, let's box off all the stuff that has to be done, all the admin, all the logistics, all that. Let's get that out of the way, so that's not a stress and it's not a distraction. But then, by all means, embrace it and go for it and enjoy it for what it is. Definitely 100%.
Anya, how are you on big game weeks then?
Me personally, look at I suppose everyone is different, but it's just on that there now, like, say for Waterford, I think, like, they'll definitely have to deal with it, as Adrian said about where to stay and all that stuff. That'll be done last week, that'll be all dealt with earlier on the week, and they won't be thinking about that, because that's, but I think it's important that they buy into whether it's meet and greets or stuff like that, because that's hugely important for progression of camogie and Waterford and for any county. When you get to an All-Ireland final stage of that, and you'll say you're going to the big days or the big pitches, whatever, like, they need to invite the girls or boys or everyone into that kind of environment, and to kind of feed off that excitement they have, and for them it might even relax them, but they'll be getting excited, they'll be getting ready for what's ahead of them. But I think it's massive that they enjoy Sunday, because it doesn't come around every year, and you don't always get that chance. So for them, like, if they're going to be nervous, of course they are, but for the most thing, they had to be excited. But for me personally, I wouldn't be the best in the group now for nerves and stuff. Dealing with, I think Adrian might say that I wouldn't be the best at all. I'd be quite nervous before games, especially big games. But over the years, I suppose I've learned to deal with that, and through different people and different experiences, it's all helped. And I am maturing as a player too. So hopefully, maybe 10 years time, if you ask me that question again, I'll say, yeah, no problem at all. I'm way better now. But no, it's only normal to have nerves, and nerves are a good thing. It means you're alert to what's going on and everything. So they'll be excited, but they'll also be nervous, probably more than likely. But no, it's good. And that lead up to an All-Ireland final, I remember in 2021, I was part of the panel, Galway panel, just extended member, but I'll never forget them last 2 weeks training before the All-Ireland final. The buzz around the place was something else. It was quite exceptional, to be honest, and something I'll never forget for a very long time to come. So I think for them, it'll be surreal, but they'll take it all in, and definitely they'll remember it for the rest of their lives,
Yeah, we will take a very short break. When we come back, we'll break down how the game is going to be won and lost on Sunday evening. Welcome back. Aine Keane and Adrian O'Sullivan still here with me. We're taking a look forward to the All-Ireland Senior Camogie final at the weekend, where Cork will take on Waterford. 5 p.m. start at Croke Park on Sunday evening. Adrian, I want to ask you about Cork's strength and depth, because this potentially could be very important coming down the stretch. And I was listening to Sarah Donovan on OTB AM this morning, and she was pointing out we have to wait till the team is named, but potentially there could be 3, maybe 4 All-Stars on the Cork bench this weekend. That is what she described as a bomb squad that you can potentially bring on at some point. That if the game does stretch, and if maybe it's required late on, that you need to send on some experience and players who've been there, done that, already picked up a Celtic cross. Cork have that in reserve.
Yeah, these Limerick's dominance is really permeating society now. If Sarah's using the bomb squad phrase, and that she's a proud Cork woman now, but I'll be able to have that over her now. She's using that the Limerick phrase. But yeah, look, whatever way Cork go about picking their team, I think I saw Matthew Toomey had an article there during the week. He said, Joe, he had a selection headache, and I can tell you that's not a selection headache. A selection headache is when you have 9 or 10 picked and you don't know who to put. You're looking around, you're going, have we 5 more at all? If you're picking from 19 or 20, that's not a selection headache, that you have the other 4 to come on and finish strong. And Cork could conceivably pick a team here for Sunday whereby they're going to finish stronger than they start, and that is a possibility. The last day against Usplow and Kilkenny, they brought on Chloe Sigerson, is a phenomenal player, wasn't going that well. They brought on Keane O'Sullivan, who'd been one of their best players all through the league, just straight away at half time, didn't even have to think about it. And then Aisling Thompson, Laura Hayes, Orla Cronin all came on as subs, so they've serious strength and depth. And look, credit to Matthew.
It's rare for a team to have that kind of veteran talent available to come off the bench as well.
Yeah,
generally,
yeah.
Your experienced players, you want them from the start. When you can turn around and pick players that've been there and done that makes a big difference.
It is. Look, maybe some of it's a product of circumstance as well. Thompson is coming back from a long-term injury, or the Cronin didn't play last year, so maybe some of it is sometimes you have to be lucky. The best decisions fall into your lap sometimes, and it could be just the case that these players kind of coming back into the scene slowly has allowed them to hold them back and use them in this manner. They mightn't necessarily have gone about it by design if they had them all available at the start of the year, but certainly they're in a fantastic position now. And look, obviously we'll have to wait and see what team is named, but as I said, they'll have Keane O'Sullivan, Laura Hayes, Orla Cronin and Aisling Thompson, who all came on, played really, really well in the semi-final, knocking on the door. So with any squad you have, if you have 19 or 20 to pick from, you're laughing, is usually it's 18 or 19, or 17 or 18. So yeah, look, the big strength and depth, and look, I think that's probably an advantage they have over Waterford. And
it's a bit of a contrast, isn't it, where you're having a lot of young players on the Waterford bench likely. Yeah,
look, I suppose you have that situation there in Waterford where I suppose we played Waterford in the championship last year, and Vicky Faulkner was playing corner forward, and now she's playing corner back, and it's very, very difficult, as you well know, and you're going from half forward, half back isn't too bad, because I suppose you spend a lot of your time in that part of the pitch anyway as a half forward. Playing corner back at county level is very, very different to playing corner forward, and I suppose nowhere will put a spotlight on you and on your ability to do that like Croke Park on our Ireland final day, and she'll be picking up Amy O'Connor, Katrina Mackey, and that is probably a little bit of a worry for Waterford. And if you look at there during the year, Alicia Forrest came straight out of the minor team and went in centre back into the senior team for a couple of games, and while that would have been common enough in camogie maybe 7-8 years ago, the likes of Siobhan McGrath would have come straight into senior at 17, Beth Carton, these kind of players, Amy O'Connor. It just doesn't happen as much anymore because just the physicality of the game has changed, and strength and conditioning and all that. So like for me, that could be a red flag or an alarm bell ringing, going, geez, is there that bit of a lack in depth in Waterford that they had to throw a minor player straight into centre back? Now, don't get me wrong, Laois Forrest, fantastic player, seen her playing minor nearly 3 years ago. I'd say she was only been 15 against Dublin, and we were looking at the Dublin minors coming through, and she was top class. Like, but I just think when you compare that to the experience and the strength that Cork have on their bench, like definitely that is an advantage Cork, really. Yeah.
Can you give me a bit of an insight into that physicality? Because you've been managing now for a while. I was talking to Michaela Morgan when she retired just over a year ago, and she was saying she was playing inter-county since she was 14. So she was beyond a veteran when she was retiring at 30 years of age. She kind of saw 30 almost as a round number because she'd been playing for 15, 16 seasons. I think she'd won somewhere in America, and that was it. And she was saying that's more than most players would accumulate, even, if they were in their late 30s. Obviously very, very different times when someone who's still in school was able to come onto a senior team at that stage. Because of the demands, I'm guessing that's not really possible anymore.
No, look, camogie is in an evolutionary stage, I feel. I suppose like every sport goes through that stage where it's going along, I suppose, in its amateur phase, and then 5 or 6 teams decide to take it really, really seriously, and they go ahead from the rest. And I suppose the first time I got an inkling of it, we were playing an Ashbourne game on a Wednesday, and there'd been National League on a Sunday when I was in UL, and I remember coming into the gym, we brought the players in for just a stretching session, because most of them would have played National League on the Sunday, and Laura Freeney and Niamh Hannafy off the Galway panel were inside doing like full Olympic lifting session, and I was like, geez, what's going on here? Like, this is unheard of. And like pretty much everyone in the room was just looking at him going, like, you played a game yesterday, what are you doing? And obviously Cahill and Robbie had Galway kind of a step ahead there at that stage, and they obviously reaped the rewards for it. I think all the top counties definitely have implemented that. I know in Dublin we put a huge emphasis on it for the couple of years that we were there as well. So like the players have never been as well conditioned, right? And like the gym numbers and everything are just going through the roof. I suppose where the frustration will come in, and maybe Owen is a little bit better to give you a proper insight into this, but for me as a coach, and I've got in trouble for saying this before, the frustration kind of comes in with the implementation of the rules, and some referees allow more physicality and others don't, and I suppose the frustration comes in with the players then as well, as they're putting so much work in to the physical side of the game, and maybe they're not being allowed to use it. But it's, I suppose, it's like it's we don't want to open that whole tin of worms again. I certainly don't want to get the wrath of the Camogie Association down on me again by going over. But look, I suppose to answer your question, the players have never been in better condition physically, from a fitness point of view, from a strength point of view, no question. You can see that in the quality of the games as well. I suppose there is that bit of consistency in the rules, and in defence of the referees, the rule is a bit wishy-washy. Like, I think for rules to work, they have to be black or white. You can either do something or you can't. I think the wording of the rule itself is open to interpretation, and if something is open to interpretation, it'll be interpreted differently by different people. So look, I'm not sure if I've answered your question there. I think you fed me the old physicality one there, and I went off on a rant.
And I think what's happened is you've reopened the wounds of last year's All-Ireland final, where I think a lot of observers were generally quite confused when they went, that to me looks like a totally fair tackle. The rules of engagement are being ruled in this way at one point of the match, and next thing other challenges are ending up in freeze, and everyone gets a bit frustrated. But it is the perfect time to ask Anya about it, because as a player, how are you finding it? Because the last few years, nearly every player that I talk to say, I love the increased physicality that's started to come around with the way that they've been looking at the rules, but yes, I still feel sometimes that too many frees are called.
Yeah, I would be totally for increasing the physicality. Like, as Adrian said, it's a black or white line. It's you either can't, you can't, and there's two interpretations of it. I would be fully for full contact. I think it's needed, to be honest, because it's like, as we were saying there, it's not the referee's fault whether they give it or they don't. They're not being told, but their rules they can interpret it different. So for me, I think it has to be a case of full contact. I think we're able for it. I don't think it's a case of that, one team might be more beneficial by full contact than others. I think every team is kind of getting to the same level. I'd be fully for full contact, because it's just there's too much kind of inconsistency, I think. Now, obviously, I don't want to be speaking out of turn, or speaking on things I'm not really up to date with, but as a player, it's just can be very frustrating when, one day you'll do a challenge and the next day you do the same challenge, but it's a free the next day and you're like, well, I've done the same thing last week. So there's just no consistency with it. So I think the only way you can get rid of that is full contact. And as I said, like physically, the physicality of camogie has changed. This is my second year playing senior inter-county. I played intermediate the year before and I played intermediate the year before that. So I think in Galway we're blessed that we have the intermediate platform to build players to, it's a stepping stone. And, even the difference from senior to intermediate is still, in my opinion, is huge. I think all the girls that came from the intermediate team that won All-Ireland last year, they got to see the difference when they're playing senior this year. So I think we're very lucky that we do have the intermediate as a stepping stone. And I was lucky I played a year and a half. Obviously, COVID kind of cut one of them short, but I got a full year of intermediate before making that transformation into a senior player. So that has helped. But yeah, no, definitely it's changing every year. And even if you look back to 5 years ago, as Adrian was talking about there, Niamh Hanafy and stuff, but like, gym wasn't really heard of 5 years ago for players to go into the gym. There was no such thing as gymming twice a week, or even 10 years ago, there was no such thing as gymming twice a week or whatever. So that is every year that's changing, and that's getting more part of our, we'll say, training plan, and physicality is increasing. But I think you have to just kind of let it go now and say, full contact. So then the referees, they'll be happier, I feel like, with that, because it'll either be black or white. It'll be the challenge is too harsh in hurling, same as hurling, it'll be too harsh or it'll be fine. It's 1-2, shoulder. So no, I definitely would be in favour of that, alright, yeah, for sure.
The refs would definitely be happier. I'm just laughing there because obviously we played Kilkenny in a challenge last year with Dublin, and obviously Philly Larkin was a fairly hard hitting operator, and his brother refereed it, blowing James Stevens one Sunday morning, and it became apparent after about 3 or 4 minutes that he had no interest in blowing the whistle, and it was unbelievable. Like, both teams came off after just going, geez, like that's how it should be played. Like there was no one injured, there was no anything. It was hell for leather below. I'd say there was 3 frees in the whole game, and it was just class, But
the frustration is you go out to play a game the week after and all those challenges get pulled.
Well, they do, because that's the rules, and look, I know the challenge that the Camogie Association would throw back on the likes of myself as well. You're the coach, you should be adapting your style to what the rules of the game are, and look, that's fair enough as well. But I think, like, in defence of the referees, and Anya hit the nail on the head there, like, the referees would prefer if the rule was more black and white, because in a split second, right, in a game in Croke Park with 30 or 40,000 people screaming, you have to make this decision, and it can be real fine margins between what's allowed and what's not allowed. So, like, it's very difficult for the referees. So, like, this is not an anti-referee thing by any stretch. We're acknowledging that it is difficult for them. But I think, and look, it's not unique to camogie either. Like, look, at ladies football at the top level, every single championship year, it's the charging rule, and it's the most frustrating thing, and it's so hard for the referees to interpret, and teams are really well coached to manipulate the rule, and it's very difficult for the referees to decipher what is and what isn't a foul. So like in anything, like the evolution of the game should look, if it's a controversial rule, let's just make it easier to implement, or let's remove it altogether. That would be my feeling on it. But yeah,
with your analyst hat on this time round,
yeah,
talk to me how good Cork are getting puck outs successfully away. Like in any level hurling camogie, Cork's puck out matches up against anyone. It is it's top class. It's slick. They're going to set up like a double cluster. They cluster their midfielders close to goal, and they cluster 4 or 5 forwards around the 45. And it's not easy to mark, because we've all seen this cluster puck out has become a thing now in hurling, and teams cluster in and break. But Cork use the screen very well, so I don't know whether they have a basketball coach in or whatever it is, but they're able to slide across and block the tackler, and then the runners will come from all angles out of the cluster. So their movement and their organisation is class. Really, really good, and anyone who's watching the game on Sunday, I'd encourage them to watch the restarts, because they're so slick. But having said that, then it's fine. Anyone can go out and organise that. Like in Aine Lee, they have a keeper that has the talent and the vision to actually put it off. Nicky Quaid, you have to be able to execute.
Yeah, Aine Lee's able to execute it all. She's a very, very, very talented player, and like she's excellent at hitting the grass, and I think a lot of average goalkeepers will try and hit a player or put it down on top of a group of players, but like she can hit the space, and Cork are excellent at creating the space. Amy's excellent at hitting it, and it's very, very hard to counteract. And they try and get Fiona Keating on the puck outs, try and get Saoirse McCarthy on the puck outs, and if you're scrambling after setting up your puck out defence, and next thing Fiona Keating has the ball in her hand running at you, and Saoirse McCarthy has the ball in her hand running at you. Like, they can really punch holes in the defence when they get it right, and they're very, very slick. Like, for any of the coaching geeks out there that are trying to learn to implement in their own teams, I think watching the Cork camogie puck out is something you should definitely be doing. Yeah, it's really good.
I talk to James Scale and Anthony Nash nearly every week. These guys love this. They'll be sitting on Sunday not to watch the game, there to watch how the puck out's from both teams.
Yeah, Scale will have all the stats on it today.
He would. Anya, you kind of alluded earlier on, you gave Waterford a shout in this. I mean, Cork, I think, are understandably favourites going into it, but who do you think is going to be lifting the O'Duffy Cup around 7 o'clock on Sunday?
I think it's very hard to call it, to be honest. Just because I think it's only going to be one or 2 point game either way. To be honest, I don't think I can call it because, like, Waterford looked very good the last day, and like we know Cork is able to do as well. So from personal experience, so I don't know, to be honest, but I just think 15 will start the game, but it's the next 5 that are going to be crucial, and I just think Cork will have the more benefit off the bench. I think they'll just be that bit stronger to see out the game. Like, I think Adrian would agree with me when I say the roar when Ashleigh Thompson came on the last day was immense. Like, it was just so it was overwhelming to us. So for them, when they see her coming on, or maybe she might start, I don't know, but when the likes of her, Orla Cronin, maybe Laura Hayes, whether she starts or not, it's going to be very, very hard to call up. I just think their 5 subs would probably just be a bit more beneficial to them than Waterford's. Now, let's take not away from Waterford subs either. They also have good players, but they're just a bit younger. So I wouldn't like to call it, but I definitely think it'll be 1 or 2 points either way. But I think it'll be a great game either way, and it's good. It's great for camogie. Like, this is like Waterford are really, whether it was Waterford or Tipperary that won that game.
It's new. It's new and it's fresh. I know you want to be playing an All-Ireland final, but at the same time, to have a team who haven't been there for 78 years is great.
Exactly, and Tipperary haven't got to final. I'm going to say in 7 years, 8 years. So whoever won that game, it was going to be someone new, it was going to be someone fresh, and it was going to be great for camogie. So, look at it. Obviously, for Waterford, I would love to see them win it just because it's 75 years since they got to an All-Ireland final. Is that 75 years since they won it? I'm not sure, but for them it would be absolutely massive, and it would be massive for camogie. But look, Cork have done all the hard work and getting through the groups, getting through the group they've got through, and getting through Kilkenny and ourselves. They've really earned their spot in that All-Ireland final, no more than Waterford have. So yeah, it'll be very interesting, but I'd say it'll only be 1 or 2 points either way. I don't think I can call it, but I'm hoping for the UA girls that they do very well, and maybe if the Duffy Cup come back to Waterford, I don't know, but see how it goes.
Beautifully democratic at the end. I would take a game being close and being down to 2 points by the end of it. Where are you going?
Look, I suppose it just popped into my head there, and Anya was saying there about Waterford having been in the final for so long. I suppose there was probably plenty of conversations exactly the same as the one we've just had when Meath were in the ladies football final 2 years ago. They weren't long up out of intermediate and it kind of nearly fluked the semi-final with a couple of late goals, and maybe people were saying, isn't it great that Meath are there? Next thing, 2 years later, they've 2 of them back to back, and Waterford could be like that. I think it's going to come down to how Waterford approach it. I think if they push up 15 on 15 to try and counteract, like Laura Tracy, like we spoke about earlier, to try and counteract the attacking platform that she gives them, then they need to be reliant on Kate Lynch and Vicky Faulkner to handle Amy O'Connor and Katrina Mackey in the space in Croke Park. I think that's one thing. If they decide to play a sweeper, I think I'm not sure that they have the athleticism around the middle third to handle Cork's running game. So look, I'd love Waterford to win it. I've nothing whatsoever against Cork. I think the old romantic in me would love to see Waterford come through, and as I said, like, I've had a lot. By the way,
nobody in Cork is going to care that half the country's probably thinking wouldn't it be great for Waterford to win. They're going up to win. They don't care what you say. No,
Cork don't care what anyone thinks outside the borders of Cork anyway, so it is all the one. But look, as I said, I've had great times over the years with the likes of Beth and Annie and Kate Lynch and all them, but I just think that whatever way Waterford approach it, Cork will be comfortable in either scenario. Like, they're used to playing with an extra player to back, they're used to playing with that space in the full forward line, they know what to do in the different scenarios, they're very well coached, they have a really strong bench. there's nothing really in it that's telling me that Cork won't win it, despite what the heart or what the romantic in me might say. So I think I'll go a small bit more than Anya. I think Cork by 3 or 4, I'd say.
Okay, well, the finals this weekend, it is a triple header at Croke Park. The first game will be the Premier Junior final, 10-1, Clare against Tipperary. Intermediate decider is Meath against Derry at 2:45, and the senior decider is the All-Munster clash of Cork and Waterford from 5 p.m. Anya, Adrian, thanks a million.
No bother, thank you.
Thank you.